What's up, guys? Welcome to the Nerd Talk podcast, Nerdy Talk for nerdy fans. I'm your host, Remington Keyes, and today we have special guest in the building, Wren Valentino.
Hello, everybody. Thanks so much for having me here. Appreciate it a lot.
We're gonna kind of go. We got some questions for you. We're gonna start off with, can you tell us a little bit about your journey into the film industry? How did you find yourself going into the direction of writer or producer, or voice actor?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So I owe a lot of it to Felissa Rose, who was in Sleepaway Camp, which is the 80s slasher movie, classic, iconic film, iconic performance. I've always been involved in writing from a very young age. I published my first short story when I was 15. But I was more involved in theater growing up than in film. I
Mm-hmm.
kind of came to film a little bit later in life, especially horror movies, which I absolutely love, of course. And the acting was kind of secondary too. Like the producing happened and then it led to the acting. But I got into film producing. I met Felissa Rose at a screening of Sleepaway Camp here in Sacramento, where I live. And we got to talk afterwards, and she was telling me about a new film she was working on, and then she connected me with that team because she thought it would be a good connection in terms of like creatively because of my writing background.
Mm-hmm.
And then I came on board as a producer for New Fear's Eve, which hasn't come out yet. And it just kind of snowballed from there. Now 67 movies later, um, I produce about 10 to 12 films a year. A lot of independent films, a lot of international films, a lot of horror movies, sometimes all of those things combined. Absolutely love it. I have a deep love for movies ever since I was little, of course. It's such a powerful, credible form of entertainment and communication with people. Everybody has their favorite movie or movies. And yeah, and so then from there, I've written a lot of films. I've written a lot of books and short stories and all sorts of creative, wonderful things. And then worked on the film producing. And then not too long ago, I had posted a TikTok video I had done on one of my other social media platforms, and a casting director who's a friend of mine reached out. She's like, you would be really good for voiceover work. And I'd taken a couple of classes in it during the pandemic when there was not much else to do.
Yeah.
Like, kind of bored at home and like, sure, I'll take an animation voiceover class. Um, so I kind of had an idea of like the basics, and she's like, let me send record this, and then I'll send this out to some folks. And I did, and she did. And then she called me back and said, I got you booked for 3 films. And so it just kind of went from there. And now I just finished my 15th feature film voiceover this week. So it's been a
Wow.
really fun, wild, crazy, nonstop kind of experience in a cool way. So yeah.
I kind of got into the industry the opposite way, like almost the exact opposite. I went in there, I was doing filmmaking. I was like cameraman, assistant, that sort of thing. And I was selling scripts to companies. And so there was just enough scripts that weren't getting sold. Like they were buying the scripts, but they weren't making them. And so I decided to just take my talent to writing books instead, because at least the books would get made, and I could tell these
Mhm.
stories and show these stories to the world. Whereas when I was selling scripts, people would buy them, but then they would just be like thrown under the rug. They just wanted to buy
Mhm.
them so that nobody else can make it.
Yeah. That does happen a lot, right?
Right. What motivates you in your with working across your various fields? Do you find that your roles complement each other, or do you view them as distinct areas?
It's a great question. I couple different answers to that. One is I feel like the things that I do kind of inform each other. So like when I'm writing poetry, it makes me a better storyteller because I have such few words to express in.
Mhm.
When I'm writing books, it helps me tell a great story narratively and think like in the psychology of the character, kind of in the mindset of the character, which I use for acting. So they all like everything that I do in a really circular, cool way, kind of it teaches each other or helps me with the other parts of it. I write in multiple genres, and each genre is so different in terms of like reader expectations and tropes, if you will, genre kind of things. Um, but no matter what genre I'm writing in, it's all about great storytelling. And that's really what motivates me, whether it's acting, producing, all the things that I do. At the end of the day, I just want to collaboratively or on my own tell the best story that I possibly can. I'm just all about storytelling. I think it's such a wonderful thing that, people tell us stories all day long when you think about it, and
Mhm.
we share stories, and just that experience of sharing stories with each other can be such a cool thing of bringing people together, which is why I think people are drawn to stories, whether they're reading it or watching it, or because they're looking for versions of themselves or comfort or to be scared.
Mhm.
So, um, whatever the case may be. So I think people seek out stories for those many reasons. And so I love to be on the other side of that, of being sort of responsible for bringing stories to people in a really
Yeah,
cool way. I
that's
really,
great.
as you can, sure you can tell, I love what I do.
Are there any crossover projects that you utilize your skills from multiple areas of your expertise?
Another great question. Crossover. I've had a little bit of crossover in kind of really cool ways, like something that started out as a stage play becomes a film, and then it becomes we thought about turning it into a TV series. So there's been a lot of crossover that I feel like crossover though happens with people more so than anything, because the industries that we work in are so small. It's like a
Right.
it's like a high school.
Yeah.
It's like a high school with different people that you see all the time, and you come back from summer and like, how was your summer? But um, so I love that. I love that I get to work with a lot of the same people. Uh, in different capacities. Because I think everybody today, well, not everybody, but most people are like multi-hyphenates where they do like 14 different things, like myself. And so it's not uncommon to like have crossover with people in different roles. Like sometimes they're an actor, sometimes they're a producer, sometimes they're a director. So that I love, of just kind of discovering the multiple skills and talents of people I know. So yeah, but I mean, I crossover comes from strange places and happens in the strangest ways. But I also love too, like the degrees of separation. Like almost everybody knows each other in some capacity. Like a couple degrees down, we all know each other in some
Mhm.
way. So it's a lot of fun.
Um, how do you approach a project that when deciding you want to produce it? Like what qualities do you look for in a script?
Again, that great writer myself, I really drawn
Oh,
to telling stories about seemingly ordinary people going through extraordinary circumstances, whether it's a zombie chasing them, whether it's a death of the family, whatever, maybe it's a, crisis of faith, whatever the case may be. I always look for that change in the character from point A to point B, that they have some sort of a transformative experience that leaves them forever changed.
mhm.
Even in horror films, that's it's there, right? And I don't mean to diminish horror films in any way, because some of them are far superior storytelling than mainstream or whatever other genres. But that's what I look for. I really look for that. And I try to imagine the audience's experience with the story. The story for me has got to be there. There's got to be moments of surprise. There's got to be tension on the page and conflict, that it doesn't come easy to the character. I look for a story, it's something that I would want to watch,
Mhm.
and enjoy and appreciate. And that's kind of the criteria. I also love the element of surprise, right? When a screenwriter surprises me on, which I learned from myself as a screenwriter, when a screenwriter surprises me on the page with something I didn't see coming, where they sort of zigged, where I thought they were going to zag,
Mhm.
is what I call it. That I appreciate. Everybody loves a great plot twist.
Right.
So I look for that, but the quality's got to be there too, in terms of um, you know, really great mechanics of storytelling.
Who are your kind of influences in your fields, like when it comes to writing, producing, or voice acting? Who are kind of your influence?
In terms of voice acting, I was really lucky to study with actress Nancy Sullivan, from Nickelodeon's Drake and Josh.
Oh yeah, she's amazing,
And
isn't she?
yeah, she's a great teacher. And she's had a really great successful career. So I really kind of model myself after that. In terms of producing and directing, I love Susan Seidelman who produced. She was a really punk new wave, one of the first female directors, Lodging, which is one of my favorite films. In terms of movies, Cinema Paradiso was my absolute all-time favorite film. It's a beautiful film from Italy. It's about movies and the love of movies, so no surprise there. In terms of writing, I'm a huge Tennessee Williams fan in terms of stage plays and writing about emotionally complex people. I grew up reading everything that Judy Blume ever wrote. So I was a big Judy Blume fan growing up. And in terms of contemporary stuff, there's a few people that I really kind of has turned the world upside down in horror movies in a really cool way. So yeah, just looking at a lot of like new contemporary people and kind of tracking what they're doing has been a lot of fun because there's some really cool, innovative things coming out from young filmmakers, especially. And not just in the horror genre, but in other genres too. I feel like, and a really exciting is I see this renaissance starting to happen of art house indie films coming
Yeah.
back full,
Oh
and
yeah.
they've been away for about 20 years. And I think that it's really exciting to see it come back. I think a lot of it has to do with young filmmakers having access to equipment now, like
Right.
being able to like physically produce something, and self-distribution, right? You
Right.
can get it out there so people can see it. And that's one of the benefits of social media. But it's good. So you can build up that base following that you couldn't do 20 years ago. So really cool stuff.
And what kind of advice would you give somebody looking to pursue a career in any of these areas?
Figure out the thing that you love to do or things that you love to do and put all of your energy there. I think um the work will come, the money will come, all those things will come. You just have to, and as sort of cheesy as it sounds, you have to pay your dues a little bit, right?
Right.
My biggest advice, and I've been a teacher for many years, so this is probably the teacher in me talking, is to study your craft.
Hmm.
Know what you're doing. Like if you want to do something extraordinarily well and be successful at it, look at the people who've done it before you, how they did it, and why their projects are still being talked about and looked at and so forth. You got to learn from the greatest, the great,
Right.
the best, learn from the best. Know the mechanics, know the rules so that you can break the rules. But I think it's hard, right? I don't know if you come from a creative family, but if you don't come from a creative family and you're wanting to be a creative person in this world, it's tough. And so you gotta kind of block out all those naysayers and critics and just absolutely lock in on what it is that you want to do and do that thing. And don't let anybody detract you, deteriorate any of those things because it's your vision, it's your dream, it's your passion. So yeah, I should keep your eye on that goal.
I come from a very
Easier
creative.
said than done, but yeah.
My uncle did a professional poem of the Red Sox. That's like very well known. He also was a professional artist and did a lot of the history for the town I grew up in. So very creative family.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
What are some future goals you have for producing? Checklist items.
Yeah. I would love to continue to support really innovative young creative, well, not necessarily young, let me take that word back, creative filmmakers, because I was part of a really beautiful project called Hidden Flora not too long ago that Ryan Rocks put together. And it's an extraordinary film and it breaks so many barriers and it's just a great story. So those sort of transformative projects are really my goals coming up. I've done a ton of horror, and I will continue to do horror selectively, but I'm really wanting to look at other genres, look at other stuff, again, being part of that sort of renaissance, re-renaissance of the art house movement. And just being a part of stuff that tells really, really compelling, interesting, narratively complex stories is really what I want to do. I just finished writing a screenplay myself, which is
Ooh.
out and we're shopping it around right now called Bitter and Sweet. And I set it in December of 1999, which is like right before Y2K. And
Mhm.
like everybody thought the world was going to end because of Y2K. Um, and it's two female best friends. It's a buddy film, and the two women that are sort of like 20 somethings in 1999 trying to make sense of the world. And I felt like I wanted to go back to that era because it was such a turning point for so much like artistically, and how stories have sort of shifted so much since 1999
Hmm.
and the world in so many ways, and just huge events that we've had since then globally. So I wanted to kind of go back to that time, like sort of the last innocence era of innocence before technology really took all these things. And it was so much fun to write because just like writing like flip phones. I mean, just the music references and so forth. So I'm really excited about Bitter and Sweet. I hope that that does really, really well. And I have a new novelette out right now too called Miss Nothing that I'm hoping lots of readers uh, find. Some of them have found it already, but hopefully more readers find it too. It's a really fun story that I came from a dream. So,
And what's a project you're most proud of?
mm. Project that I'm most proud of. It would probably be my screenplay, probably the screenplay that I was trying to think of, like I was going way back in my mind of like early stuff. I feel like I'm writing at my best level now professionally. So that's why I think that would be that. Um, I do think though too, I have a novel coming out soon called Motel Queen, about a beauty pageant queen who's living in like a rundown motel trying to put her life back together. It sounds much more bleak than it is, but that doesn't come out till next summer. And I feel like that's my best writing, that and Bitter and Sweet. So my new stuff, right? But I think probably any writer would be like, my newest stuff is the best stuff, that you kind of are in love with your most recent project. So Motel Queen and Bitter and Sweet are probably my two favorites, things I'm most proud of.
And do you have anything coming out recently that you want to plug?
Yes, everybody should watch Wolf Hollow, which is a new classic werewolf movie that I was a part of. It was an absolute awesome. It's an awesome film. It's on all the VOD platforms, but it's a one heck of a thrill ride. It's fun, good special effects, good scares in it. Really great score, like sound like composer. Lots of fun. That's a great. If you're looking for a good like Friday night scary movie, Wolf Hollow is definitely a lot of fun. I was really happy to be a part of that. I also want to just plug really quickly. I'm part of a beautiful, scary, terrifying movie called Ever After. As a producer that's coming out from Hungary, the country of Hungary. I think it's later this year. It's really good stuff. It's a super creepy take on fairy tales. It's called Ever After. Be out later this year. Really great director on that.
And this is the end of our show, so I'm gonna let you plug your social media. Where can my fans find you on social media? Where can they reach out to you?
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. So Wren Valentino, WREN Valentino.com is my website. I'm on most social media platforms, always happy to answer questions. So if anybody reaches out to me, sends me a DM kind of thing, I'm always happy to help with advice or resources, anything that I can. So many people have helped me and continue to do so. So it's all about pay it forward for me. So never hesitate from reaching out if you're hearing this or watching this and need some advice or help or anything I could point you towards or to, I'm happy to do so. So yeah, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all those places.
Oh, that's great. I love having you on. It was a really cool episode. It's always nice to have people who are actually in the industry coming on and sharing their stories and how trying to help people who want to get in there. Because when I was going through school, there wasn't really that many resources for getting in here. You had to find them
Mm.
on your own. Now with like podcasts and stuff, people are like able to share their own stories to help others.
Yeah, no, totally agree. Totally agree. Thank you. I really appreciate what you do and giving this platform to artists like myself. So thank you for doing this.
Hey, we'd love to have you on again. But till next time, guys, I've been your host, Remington Keyes, signing out, and we'll see you in the next episode.